Thank you very much, Carl. Indeed, we shall. And already up on Banana, forZe very aggressively trying to take control over this round, over this best of three after a lackluster poor performance, as you guys in the desk were discussing. It's a map that both teams like to play, and Almeza puts a bullet between the eyes of Jo, opens up a bit more business towards the B side. Face crack pushes through the smoke in mid-air, lands, and puts the bullet into the head. And that should be it. That should be the round over now. Speedax in a 1v4 in a bit of an awkward position, trying to move up through Speedway. Does have a kit, but, oh, pardon me, actually has armor, not a kit or any grenades. So it's even more rough than I was originally anticipating. He should get the drop on the first play, but he's missed his shot and he's been punished. That is so grim. But at least forZe have the first round, so maybe, just maybe, we're going to have a closer affair this time.
Yeah, I mean, this is forZe's best map. It really should be. I mean, I think they've won the last 5 times in a row. They have, like, a really insane online record on this map. It's also been one of their best land maps as well. I would say it is their #1 map in their pool. So if they had any chance to, you know, get a map in on this series and give themselves a real shot, then I think this would be the one. Nemiga, though, like you said, no slouches in their own right on Inferno. I think they've won 10 of their last 13 games and have usually done pretty decent on it. So I think that they will be a formidable opponent. So it's kind of a similar story to last time, where both teams were comfortable on the map. But I think forZe have a maybe slight edge on Inferno, whereas Mirage is maybe a bit more even. But we'll have to see if it plays out that way.
Absolutely. I think we go back into the same kind of discussions that they were having over on the desk and that we were discussing as well about how forZe are just inconsistent. So it's kind of like, which side of the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde side do we see? Do we see Z-Power triggering for another 20, 25 kills? Do we see one of his teammates help him out? If not, then yeah, Nemiga absolutely could take this.
Certainly have already shown us what we saw in Mirage, that they had the individual talent to do so and the know-how to play out Counter-Strike correctly. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Could still be a 2-0 possibility for Nemiga, but again, if there ever was a map that forZe would fight back on to force a third map, I feel like Inferno would be their best bet, as they're trying to creep one into CT spawn here and kind of deal with these B players. Has been picked up upon by Jo, though, and it's mainly an A attack, but there's still 3 defenders here, Vince.
There are, and it's the bottleneck of short. Fortunately, those smokes have been put down on the side of forZe. Lollipop holding the line with the MP9. Gonna keep the dream alive, but he eventually will go down. Box has moved into a good position with this 5-7. It's labored, but gets the job done. And now a 2v2 falls upon us. Flit still with a HE. They do have a couple of flashbangs. Mac 10, both players with armor. But that double peek in from Z-Power and his teammate of Flit's now going to be very difficult for Box to contend with. He was last spotted on short with his 5-7 and now made the move around arches, but forZe are up to the task. 2-0 starts.
I think there was a small window where if they could have waited out a bit longer and got their flashes off, there were some chances to take some duels in that 2v2, especially having a Mac 10, and they could have maybe pulled it off, but forZe did a great job taking initiative, pushing through Moto, kind of disrupting Nemiga's retake plans, and just, you know, putting that one to bed. So it's going to be 2-0 for forZe, and it should be the 3-0, with only just a few upgraded pistols to spare for Nemiga.
Shoulder peeking in middle was Speedax looking for a bit of info, and he found it as a bullet passes between his eyes. And now Nemiga with a very low investment, not really looking like they're going to get anything done. And this would kind of be deja vu from the first map, just reversed, where it was forZe on the CT side that were getting battered and bruised and never really built up an economy. So they'll be looking to make sure that doesn't happen to them. Jo with the 5-7, headshot delivered, but there's just too many Ts and he's overwhelmed. The bomb is dropped back at the spawns. That does give Nemiga with MDS and 1 HP and Lollipop maybe a chance to do something from here, but that chance has quickly been evaporated.
Surely. And now that we're into the rifle rounds again, look out for forZe to be just very B-heavy on their T side. We talked about this time and time again. We've seen it earlier in the tournament. We've seen it throughout their Inferno play together as a 5, just really favor stacking 4 players B early, having 1 player, usually either like Flit or Face Crack, kind of playing alt mid or apartments alone, and just really focusing in on B. But as I say that, they're changing the game plan, Vince. They're coming up mid very fast.
And forcing back these CTs, and that's just what they were looking to do. with the Mac-10 is get up close and personal. Face crack with the AWP. Picked up from the corpse of SpeedAct, puts it against Nemiga. Wow. And this is much more like it from forZe. Just that blitzkrieg approach. They whittle down Nemiga, who have to save.
Yeah, again, there's so well. So I think there's like a lot of mind games going on. For one, it's interregional play, so these teams know each other very well. I'm sure they've played Inferno against each other plenty of times, whether it be practice or official matches. And again, forZe has that tendency to be very B heavy on their default. And so Nemiga was going for a triple B opening, and so forZe, you know, almost like a couple of moves ahead on the chessboard, kind of understand, you know, hey, we play B heavy a lot. Because of that, maybe they are going to play B heavy. So let's do the one play that perfectly counters a B heavy defense, which is a quick push up middle into arch, which is usually where that defensive gap is going to be if there's a triple B setup. Usually the two A defenders are going to be playing more towards site, pit, you know, balcony. And so usually that moto wrap is wide open for the taking. And Nemiga absolutely got thrashed there. So it is going to be 4 rounds for forZe. Some guns are saved, though, by Nemiga, and they're able to buy some deagles around them. So at least they have a little bit of something to work with here.
Yeah, interesting priority. Clearly, they want the AWP. Because I think a lot of teams, down to around $3,000 with 3 saved guns, would have actually just picked up another 2 M4s and had confidence they could turn this around. But Nemiga playing for the bigger game, which does scare me a little bit when you're already 4-0 behind and Flitz perforated the head of Box in apps. Not a good start at all.
Yeah, it's big. It is that 1-4B opening I was talking about that's commencing here, but then they got the bonus of Flip being able to pick up on the apartments aggression of Box and get them the 5-on-4. So they basically get to run their same default game plan, but with a man advantage. Now, there is some trickery on the other side of this wall fence, but that flash was ineffective. That's an easy kill for Z-Power.
Lollipop's gonna have to pull out something truly special, truly memorable if he's gonna hold the line here against all the T's. He's turned his back, anticipating the flash. You could see what he was trying to do. It's just too many bullets were finding their way through the smoke, and speaking of which, Face Crack perched up on the boxes, puts the player of SpeedAct in his place. MDS last alive, forZe eyeing up a 5-0. So actually, we are gonna have the exact same start as Mirage just flipped on its head, with forZe now taking the 5-0 lead.
Absolutely. forZe have definitely looked a lot sharper here on Inferno, as to be expected. Again, a very strong map for them. And I think the other big thing is not only have they won all these rounds, but they've done so dominantly. They have survived with 4 or more members in 4 of the 5 rounds they've already won. They only had that one close round in round 2. That was a little bit dicey. So that means that they are not only building a big lead, but they're also building a massive economy. As you can see, 4 of their players are in the 5 digits when it comes to cash, and they don't really need to replenish much except for utility. So they are sitting pretty for a very long time, Vince. It's going to take a lot from Nemiga to get back into this game. They need to win several rounds in a row to put the pressure on forZe's economy, get them saving. There's going to be no easy rounds ahead for Nemiga for quite some time.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
2 of them aren't even on the scoreboard yet. I mean, that's another big problem. SpeedAct needs to get going, usually one of the stars of this team.
Speaking of SpeedAct, he's going to go aggressively in Banana. The Molotov extinguished, but no one's there. As forZe have other ideas. They want to try and pressure on middle. Almeza went out for the dry peak, gets tagged down to 68 and thinks better of that. Now they're going to turn their attention elsewhere. But forZe, again, getting rid of quite a bit of that utility. There's no incendiaries barring Box, and that's the only grenade he has left.
Yeah, so kind of more spread play here from forZe, a little bit more standard, not the 1-4B that we're used to. Z-Power finding a timing though with the AWP from apartments, just catching SpeedAct way off guard. Now they're putting that pressure on lane. MDS trying to cover it as best he can from the site. He's got support at Moto and Pit.
Oh, Lollipop's getting tagged down to 50. And Flit heard that as well while he was waiting in the smoke, waiting in the wing. Smoke down onto Arches. Face Crack now pushing in. Z-Power connects onto MDS, and it's looking like it's going to be more of the same. Lollipop holding in pit. Valiant attempt, but only 2 kills forthcoming. And Jo, with 25 seconds on the clock, can't hope to stop the bomb plant. He will be trying to save this M4. 6-0 start. forZe have finally shown some of what they're capable of doing. We barely saw on Mirage, but now Inferno is their playground.
Again, you're just seeing that very aggressive, scrappy play style that forZe like to implement come into fruition. You're seeing Z Power be very dynamic and where he's putting the AWP. It's definitely kept Nemiga guessing. Dude, that radio got me for a second. I was wondering where the audio was coming from.
Joe's just chilling and listening to some news.
Yeah.
On his way out of round 6.
That got me for a second, bro. I was totally confused. It's like, have I unmuted something by accident?
Wondering if I'd just gone crazy and started muttering to myself in a foreign language. Yep.
Yeah,
classic.
just voice in my head. Yeah.
Oh, another rough buy as well, man. Like, I don't know. We kind of went through these motions on Mirage, and there's not really much you can say. I mean, Nemiga have just been getting absolutely pounded across the board, like outclassed in every feasible way.
Their cheeks have been busted, Vince.
Multiple times, yeah.
Absolutely. They're getting the big hurt.
I mean, there's a chance for a 007 on 2 players. Like, we could have the double agent, MDS and Speedak. And Speedak in particular is really surprising. He's their AWP, one of their best players, and he's had an AWP several times and still hasn't got a kill.
I mean, that could be an idea for the next James Bond movie, Vince. There's 2 Bonds. Clones of each other. Thoughts?
That's true. No, I wouldn't be against the idea. Bond's had some pretty ridiculous plots in the past, so why not?
I mean, as many women as he's been with, surely there's plenty of samples out there that could have been collected to create a Bond clone. Surely.
That was not the direction I was anticipating that conversation to go in. And
does it ever really go the way though?
Not really.
Yeah, I mean,
not many things do, as Nemiga are finding out right now, Dust.
Yep.
They weren't expecting a 0-6 stop, potentially 0-7. Maybe Box is going to be able to get their first round with his 5-7 in hand and Speedak with a crossfire. But now that forZe have ran into that and realized, okay, it's a stack, they got crossfires, we respect that, we're going to head back to A. They do have Flit in Apps, who nearly gets put down from Lollipop CZ. And Box will finally punish Z Power, albeit labored, for missing his shot. Speedak on the cross is going to be getting his first 2 kills of the round, and they could be round determining kills. Flit 17 HP and 10 seconds to his name. Has to make something out of nothing. There's the first. Going to make this a little bit more costly. Realizes he can't clutch this, so instead he's going to save the AWP, and he does at least keep Nemiga honest. But first round is theirs.
Yeah, of all the ways to win it, didn't think it would be that way. That was very, very chaotic. Just seemed like Nemiga caught a lot of really fortunate timing, particularly Speedak on that push around arch side, blindsiding a player top middle. And also just kind of the weird exchange that took place with Box's 5-7 in the opposite Z Power in the bottom of mid. Was also quite interesting. Ooh. Man, that is just asserting dominance if you're Z Power. Like, just straight up red spit axe peek and shut it down completely. And A is wide open now.
MDS, I thought maybe they were going to line up for him, checking arches. No, it was a way for him to spray down 2 or 3 players. But as you rightfully pointed out, Dust, the aggression, the confidence to just dry peek middle like that and then best the opposite AWPer. Z Power has not slowed down from that first map. He's 7-1. He's got himself 84 ADR, but so much important kills and impactful kills in this map already. And it's the T side. This is the side that most AWPers struggle on. So you don't even want to imagine what kind of confidence he's going to be rocking with when the CT side comes up. The question remains, well, how many rounds can Nemiga perch up before that point? Because if it keeps going like this, map's going to be done pretty quick.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's just one of those fortunate timings for forZe, too, where Nemiga were going for the triple B setup. Again, I think they're running that a lot because they know that forZe is a very B-heavy team. So that's kind of, again, just the mind games going on. And so there's only 2 A defenders to start the round off with. Z Power finds the first one immediately, so it's just one guy at A now waiting for a rotation, and forZe are just, again, very assertive. They're very decisive. They're not going to waste any time following up their pick and getting in your face and swarming the site. And they can be very overwhelming. Their play style, again, just so aggressive at times. Really just putting it to Nemiga right now. Again, very much deja vu, but in reverse from the previous map.
couple of extra stats. MDS 007, 21 ADR. Meanwhile, Flit is yet to die. He is the immortal at the moment.
Yep. He was leading in deaths per round for the tournament anyway, and so I guess he's just going to keep adding to that.
Banana control, pretty decent, but now the T's can clump together. They're still sat at the bottom of Banana in middle.
Yep. Just the utility from the CT side really shutting down their normal B approach, but they could be going for it a little bit later with a pop flash, which is pretty common. Flit, though, lining up a smoke at A to keep these defenders interested, who have set up a 4-man A defense. They're putting a lot of faith in Jo with an MP5 of all weapons to try to solo hold B for a little bit, but of course he's able to put his utility and get the hell out of there and call for a rotation, as Box will now join him here with M4. Bit of a fake commitment, though, from forZe. They're still interested in middle with this bomb. They're setting up some utility at B. It actually does cause MDS to have to rotate Vince. They have actually done exactly what they wanted, pushing and pulling the CT rotation to get them a huge edge on this A attack.
The timer is starting to run dry, though. The sands of time do not favor forZe. Positionally, they're in pretty good spots, but Speedak perched up on the box. The last time that Nemiga won a round, it was in a very similar situation with an aggressive push in the dying embers. Speed at close range is going to nullify and suppress as many players as possible, and it is almost a carbon copy. It went in a different way, but last time Nemiga were able to pick up a round, it was in this like frenzy and chaos of a desperation push with 10-15 seconds left. The same happens and it's the same outcome.
Yeah, I feel like forZe had the right idea there on how they were, again, kind of pulling CT rotations, but they just were a little bit too hesitant. And the other big thing there was Nemiga were proactive. Like, they kind of understood the situation they were in, and they decided to just push down Banana. And I think that that made such a big difference because it gave them the confidence to know where the attack was going to be, and it was allowing them to get all their players in position before the bomb could ever get its way into the site. Speedak also able to get some pretty nice close range op kills from within that site. Finally getting going here. He did have a cold start to the game, but now he's starting to flex his muscles a little bit. Get a second round on the board for his team. Oh, JO's having another defense.
That flick, man.
Oh, yeah.
Banged Almeza. Absolutely destroyed him.
Hope he stretched his wrist before that.
Crack takes an 8 afterwards. Same position his teammate went down. But I mean, you did highlight this before as well, Dust, that with Nemiga, they're going to have to win a slew of rounds if they're even going to break forZe. Because even with these rounds going back and forth and then winning 2 of the last 3, forZe, even after this round, already have players at the 10K mark or above. So they're good to go for another 2 or 3 rounds, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, it's going to take a couple of rounds in a row from Nemiga to finally force forZe to tap out. And I don't know if we'll ever get to that point. It's been back and forth the last couple. The attack is commencing here, though, from forZe. 2 defenders at the back of the site.
Up on the box, but no crossfire to really work with, so it's slim pickings for Nemiga. They do have the player advantage, mainly off the opening pick from JO's AWP flick. And now Z-Power and Flit have 3 players to try and stop who want to pillage back onto the site. Oh, you're spoilt for choice. Z-Power almost was indecisive. Which player do I take? There's too many options. And in doing so, he completely locked up. Lots of damage through the smoke. There's a grenade banked off the wall. It stops the defuse. He's not entirely sure about whether that's the case or not, so he has to peek back in again. Flick going for the spray. There's 2, and he can actually clutch this one out now. Lollipop has to push him down. It's a 4K. Flit's on for the ace, and he picks it up as well. What a play from Flit. What a nightmare for Nemiga.
It was such a nightmare. As you said, Jo gets the opening pick. It's the 5-on-4. They trade even inside the site on the initial execute, so they have the 3-on-2 retake potential, but Flit not having any of it. The ace, I believe that was a 1v3 for him to clutch it out in the end. And again, Flit is just such a versatile talent, Vince. He can help you trade frag to open sites. He can be an aggressor on the perimeter of the map, you know, plays a lot of solo roles. But he also is very, very good in those mid to late round situations, closing things out and being kind of that clutch player. It balances out some of the aggression of players like Z-Power and Almazer to have a closer like that. Flit at 13-1 in the 10 rounds played. He is just crushing it. Another eco for Nemiga.
Boxstyle 2-1 Deegs. One hell of a way to counteract a very disappointing retake would be to pick this one off, and Jo instantly flicking to the head with a 5-7. Almeza does lay him down, but the damage inflicted pretty significantly definitely was spotted in the bedroom, Speedak, but that early warning system has been rung and allowing Nemiga now to move a second player in, which will be Lollipop. Now, sure, it's a 2v3 and Almeza is low, but you still expect to see the T's pick this up. That may throw a spanner in the works, though, because Flip's been tagged down to 9. Almeza's positioning perfect, though, for the re-emergence of Speedak. And now MDS going to try and look for some weapons to pick up and potentially save. But if the call comes through that both players are low, he may very well go for this, considering the scoreline.
Yeah, it's just tough without a kit. Maybe if he banks this nade and gets us a kill immediately and gets the 1v1, then you go for it. But if you can't find a kill fast without a kit, unless there's one falling on the site, might have to still backpedal away. But that grenade looks pretty juicy, Vince.
That's so unfortunate. MDS takes damage. Flit doesn't want to peek, knowing his HP. He just pulled off a masterful clutch. This one much more straightforward, as MDS had no idea to where he currently resided. And forZe 9-2 lead, but that was a little bit too close.
Oh yeah, certainly. It was just came down to some really good timings from Nemiga with their peeks at Banana. They caught forZe like going for a boost and setting up utility. It was just, again, Counter-Strike a game of milliseconds. Sometimes you're going to catch players with their pants down if you peek at the right time, and Nemiga certainly did kind of catch forZe in the act there. Not able to capitalize, though, unfortunately. Oh man, Spidak really committed to that op peek at Banana, and it cost him a lot of life points in the fire.
Yeah, that's definitely not a trade that he's happy to take, but while holding the L, he also holds the AWP. And with that could be the key to a third round for Nemiga, so just stay alive if possible. He's situated on A, but playing pretty closed off on the site. Meanwhile, though, forZe may not care about that as they're heading towards the B side. They've been here multiple times. Nemiga don't really have any kind of presence in Bananas. They're just giving this one up for free.
Yeah. And the thing is, they've played triple Bs several times early in the half. They've been punished because of it so many times, but they feel like they can't do it anymore. And that's where forZe, who are, again, a very, like, 1-4 B-heavy team, now get to really implement that B game plan and have less resistance to worry about along the way. They forced Nemiga to respect some of these faster A attacks, some of these op picks that Z-Power's been able to put up middle. As I say that, though, they now have the confidence to rotate MDS over into CT spawn, so they will have 3 defenders here to help defend. A good counter incendiary from the S as well. May slow things down, but no, they push through.
They push through, and they get opening picks. 2 of them in total. Box does counteract with 1. MDS now pushing. Oh, that spray transfer. There's a team kill in there as well. It's gone horribly wrong. 8 seconds left, and Flip needs to try and pull off another clutch. He doesn't have time to go for it. There's 3 players up against him. He is going to be able to hold on to his AK behind New Box unless he peeks out too aggressively. Actually gets the touchdown onto MDS. So that's at least going to force another rebuy, but that round definitely not ending the way they were hoping. And how has Flit only got 1 death? We're in round 13. He's 16-1. What the actual hell is going on here?
Telling you, man. The guy is a magician. Can pretty much do it all. We've seen him even secondary op. I mean, again, very versatile player. I call him the Swiss Army knife of the team. As you said, that one did not go the way they expected. It seemed like they were maybe going to catch a timing pushing through the incendiary with an extinguish, but just absolutely got run through the blender instead. Just Nemiga got the perfect timing on that rotation from MDS in the spawn. Right when they needed him to be there, they had the triple defense on the site. And so now they have 3 rounds on the board. They've won 3 of the last 6. So they're starting to, you know, swing back and forth here a little bit. But again, forZe is still very much in control. They've never had to save, really. Still very much on for double digits. And there's still so much work for Nemiga to do.
Well, they're going aggressive down middle as well. It's decent damage to kick things off and that little bit better from JO's M4. Jerry, though, waiting by tunnels, bypasses any of the aggression after the grenades, and seems like both teams are relatively happy to call it a day after the first couple of deaths, so they'll kind of pull back and play a little bit more standard Counter-Strike.
Yep, you know, you didn't quite get what you wanted out of that. You want to get the kill and then get away and have the 5-on-4. It was traded back there by Jerry. So it does keep it even 4-on-4, which is going to favor the T's ever so slightly because it forces the defense to kind of either gamble, stack 3 at a site, or play a 2-2 split. And if the vulnerability is detected, then you could be in for trouble. But that's a great pick there from JO. Gets the advantage back for Nemiga. Gets some intel on what forZe's game plan was there at middle as well, though forZe will use that opportunity to start falling off back towards B, their bread and butter. They leave Almazer at middle to keep these players interested, which is great because it's keeping JO locked in place and making it to where Box has to play B alone against the execute that is about to commence, which might give forZe a route back into the round. It's all going to come down to timing, Vince. Whether or not Box can put an individual effort down, or whether or not a rotation get there to help him fast enough.
That doesn't look like any rotation is going to be forthcoming. And he's gone down. He was forced out of position with the grenades. He was flashed, Molotov, everything was tossed at him. Time is running pretty low, and I tell you what, that nearly went horribly wrong again. JO did land a shot through the coffins onto the bomb planter, but FaceCrack survived with 14. He has put 2 players down low enough, though, to justify a potential retake. Molly tossed to the back towards Shadow. There is a player there. This could finalize the kill into FaceCrack if he's not careful, but he's just holding the right angle, just in time, moves away, puts down the upshot in range, and Almazer will clean up the rest. So Box wasn't able to hold the line. He is top ranking for his team, but forZe cruised to a 10-3 lead.
Almost lined up the 2-for-1 there, Vince, on that rotation from Ruins. Maybe he didn't get the flashy kills, but he still got the kills nonetheless. Everyone on forZe positive KD and fragging well. Obviously, Flit, though, is the one that's just kind of standing tall. forZe just absolutely crushing this, and all of Nemiga's economies in this round here. So if they lose this, it's very likely that forZe would be up 12-3 when we transition sides. But you feel like Nemiga do just have to kind of win out from here if they have any hopes of competing. Luckily, they won first map, so they do have that safety net of a third map coming up next.
Flashes are good, forcing JO with that Molotov put behind him. Knew there was going to be no reinforcements coming in. Felt like he had to press forward, had to take the fight to forZe. Doesn't work out. Bomb now picked up from Z-Power on the T-steps. They have options once again. Banana control, by and large, taken for free. And I think Box is at least toying with the idea of pushing that smoke, but it has just cleared in his face. And now he realizes he's very vulnerable and bare, and put down with authority. More players here. May not anticipate a third player to be stacked on the site, but it is Speedak with the AWP, and he's missed his shot, and that should be his life team forfeit. Indeed, it shall be. That was their last real hope in the round. An MDS caught in no man's land as he pushes down middle. 11-3 halftime. Could very well be 12-3, and at that point, it could be too far gone.
Yeah, I think 12-3 is right on the horizon, as Nemiga are not going to be able to really put much of a buy here. A couple of MP9s. It's going to be about it. Maybe FAMAS armor on somebody. I mean, that's really about the best they can hope for. Looks like it's full SMGs and a Deagle, a little bit of utility. So probably going to have to do something aggressive, Vince. I mean, that's really the only way to make the MP9s work. Incendiary thrown deep towards T-stairs definitely will keep the T's in place in that location, allowing a B push to commence.
Yeah, they had the right idea with banana control, but to me, Dust, it just feels like it's too late. Like this should be a read or a timeout called or just something to have been an earlier impactful moment, you know, try and steer the ship away from the rocks that it was headed towards. And it's all well and good taking banana control in the 15th round, but where was this earlier on?
Yeah. And will it even matter? I mean, if forZe decide to pull the trigger on an A attack here in a moment with just a only lane side defense, if they exploit arch side, it could be a real big problem. Or they could just get the B pick instead. I mean, that works too.
this tower of CTs, though, in a very good positions. Z-Power at least make sure it's not a flawless hold, and Flip now through on the balcony with 2, just lurking and enveloping the site. Smoke headed towards the library side, and I mean, that really should just be done.
Yep.
It's hard to see how JO clutches a 1v3 with just a deagle, no nades, and no kits.
Spoiler alert, he's not.
Definitely feels that way, doesn't it? The positions as well from the tees are just looking very, very deadly. He has to go for it. It's the last play of the half, and Z-Power puts an end to it in fashion of domination. A real demolition derby, and Flip finishes with just 2 kills and a half. That is pretty ridiculous.
Lollipop from the Nemiga calling the tactical pause.
Oof.
I mean, this might even just be more of like a let's really make sure we know what pistol round we want to run because we must win it. And then it also might just be a case of letting everyone kind of cool their heads a little bit because I'm sure that they're a bit rattled after taking that much of a beating. I mean, this is the most dominant half of CS we've seen so far this tournament, at least on the mainstream. We haven't had a 12-3 half yet. I mean, this is almost as bad as it gets. Again, at least there's that third map safety net. Nuke would be the map that's coming up next, which forZe would be favored on, Vince. I feel like they have the better track record on that map, so I think Nemiga kind of realized how important it is to try to fight back here on the T side. Now we have a tech pause coming out from the forZe side after a tactical pause from Nemiga has expired. Hopefully just a few seconds.
Yeah, it does feel like a bit of a delaying of the inevitable, or at least a feeling of it. But I mean, you know, maybe Nemiga, again, if I'm trying to be optimistic and trying to see a way forward, said the same on Mirage. Win the pistol, keep the economy low of forZe. There's a chance a way back in, but it's really been the nature and how forZe have really stepped up their game that scares me. When Flit is teeing off in the manner he is, but everybody is around double digits. It's only Jerry that's not, but he's on 9, and he's not necessarily really going to ever be one of their super high fraggers anyway. You got to look at forZe and you think, well, this is a team that looks night and day from that first map, because after that first map we were all saying, like, man, that was such a disappointing performance.
And again, you got to think about it, like what's coming next is also a big problem for Nemiga. I mean, forZe have looked really, really strong on Nuke lately. Again, it's always been a map that's been strong for them in the online environment. You kind of look at recent results. They've beaten Complexity. They've, beaten several other teams kind of within their league, so to speak, as far as kind of the tier CS that they play in. Definitely have had a pretty good go of Nuke in recent times, whereas you look at the other side, and it's not been so bad for Nemiga by any means. They've also had their own little stretch, but I feel like quality of opponent has been a bit better at times for forZe, and it wasn't so long ago, like back in May, April period, where Nemiga were on a bit of a losing streak and having their struggles on Nuke. So I definitely think the resume on Nuke is a little bit more impressive from forZe side rather than Nemiga. So that's just kind of maybe a little bit of a look to the future, which I know I might be calling a little bit early, but based on the score and the eye test, it does seem like I don't know how we're not seeing Nuke at this point. I mean, Nemiga would really have to have a brilliant T side.
Yeah,
looks like everyone's ready back up.
We've had some comebacks over the duration of this tournament, Dust, but nothing of this magnitude. We've had sort of, 7-1 comebacks, but not a 12-3. Also, just to give you guys an idea of what's happening in the other semifinals right now, Espada are straight up ravaging Gambit youngsters. They won the first map, and they're currently 11-1 in the lead. So obviously, winner of that game plays winner of this.
No.
Z-Power at range. Tries with the USP, pulls back, allowing Nemiga to push up middle and try and overwhelm and swarm the site as the tsunami of T's crashes across Z-Power. Flit's going to at least keep them caught in two minds as to their positions post-plant. They may not even get across there because FaceCrack now from range is opening up with his USP. Flit is still showing his hand in balcony. This is such a frustrating position for the T's to deal with because as long as he's alive, they can't fully focus on short, which is where the rest of the CTs are coming from. FaceCrack's gone down, and now Speedak's opening up with his Glock. He runs out of ammunition. I have no idea how he's still alive, and Box helps him out. This is going to go the way of Nemiga. What an absolute mess, but somehow they've made it work.
Yeah, I mean, that was just way too chaotic to follow. But in the end, Nemiga do come out on top. And just to kind of clarify for you, Vince, actually the way this works is whoever wins these two best of threes that we're seeing right now go on, they automatically qualify for stage 3. It's the losers that we are going to be casting in the next game. So if Gambit Youngsters winds up losing to Espada, they'll move down to the lower bracket. Loser of this game also moves down to lower bracket for like a last chance to qualify for stage 3. That is how the bracket works out.
I see. I was misunderstood. Thank you for the correction. So
yep, no winners match required.
Alrighty, so Nemiga may very well, if they do go through to nuke and lose, be playing again today.
Yep.
forZe looking to try and put an end to this quickly, but won't be happening. Box of the entry with the AK-47, cracking open the site. It does leave FaceCrack alive, ready, and willing, but not for much longer. New box has been culled, and with it, any chances at salvation, I should say. This round has gone with it. Flit's going to try and save his Deagle and his Kevlar, plus his smoke.
So there you go, Nemiga. Looking like they're on their way to a 3-0 start. It's a small step forward, Vince. But it could lead to that giant leap they need to make the full-on comeback and keep the 2-0-8 reality. Still have a lot of ground to gain before that they would really start to pose a huge threat to forZe's lead. But again, you got to start somewhere. You got to get those first building blocks down. You got to get that foundation going and getting pistol, cleaning up the anti-eco. That is indeed those first things you need to check off. And they've done so far.
Yeah, they've done everything they needed to. It's just a case of continuing the hot streak going forward. Keep forZe stuck down in rough buys and rough situations. Z-Power peeking. Does get attack onto MDS. That's at least going to hurt, but he also takes a ton of damage in return.
Yes. Ooh. Those are some juicy grenades.
Yeah, very nearly just killed him outright. Jerry also tagged. Multiple casualties limping and lumbering their way, but no early deaths. And so, Jo with the MAC-10 going out first. Doesn't want to overextend because he knows that that smoke doesn't cover from the boost. It's a triple spray. forZe tried a couple of off angles. They tried some cheeky shenanigans, but Nemiga were having none of it.
Just kind of going the way that we expected, to be honest. I mean, really haven't gotten to see forZe put their best defense up yet. Next round will certainly be the first real test for Nemiga to see if that comeback effort actually could happen. I mean, certainly if you can get the CT economy in a bad place on Inferno, you limit their ability to control Banana, or, you know, stop you from controlling Banana as a T side because you don't have the incendiaries, grenades, and such like that to shut down Ts that are pushing down. Then T's can definitely get some momentum going and pull off some big things. I mean, obviously that's what we saw forZe do on their T side. So it's not out of the question, you know, Nemiga being a team that, while they're not as impressive as forZe on Inferno, as far as like history goes, they're still quite comfortable on it. They've had their success on the map in recent times, and it is possible that they could put something together here and at least make this game competitive, if nothing else.
That's really the best they could hope for right now. Obviously, that goal and that parameter will change if they do get towards 8 or 9 rounds, I'd imagine. But right now, it's just a case of one round at a time, you know, insert cliche here, but just try and at least work for this. Don't get completely rolled over. And with each passing moment of success, like Box is about to have with his Mac-10, it will build that confidence up a little bit more, and you can shift the goalposts. Jo with a smoke over onto the CT side. Nemiga with another player advantage. This time, forZe did buy. It's going to be rapid as well. They're not going to wait for these grenades. They're going to catch them off guard, knowing there's a potential possibility of someone being caught with a nade out, and that's exactly what happens. And now forZe in a really dire situation with their last two players. They probably just want to save. It's an AWP at the end of the day.
Yep. That's great because they'll be able to pick up a free M4. The only gun they lost in that was a Mac-10. They get all the M4s actually now, and the AKs. And I was just kind of Nemiga doing some quick thinking. Realizing it's a bonus round. We're bringing in 2 Mac-10s. Let's go for something aggressive, and they just pull the trigger on a really fast B hit, and it works out great. Great entries from Box, again, who's had a hell of a tournament so far. Not normally one of the known stars of the team. Again, usually it's like Spidak or Lollipop, but while those two have played well, certainly Box has really stepped up so far this tournament. And big play from him to get them to 7. Economy quite low for forZe. The only thing being saved is the AWP, which they can definitely try to build around a little bit, but it would cost them dearly to do so. And indeed, I think they're taking the more conservative approach of just surrounding it with upgraded pistols rather than going for the full-on force buy.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you have a 5-round buffer, doesn't it? You don't want to overplay the hand and then maybe get that hand ripped off. Jo nades up onto top banana. Jerry's going to be pushing down first. They do have a decent supply of pistols, and Almeza plus face crack. You're living up to his name, puts a bullet square in the face of Box. 3v3. Good opening start, and they haven't lost their AWP, plus they've picked up an M4. Nemiga do need to be careful. Z-Power is in the boiler. He's watching and anticipating a push into the app side, but he's just missed his window of timing.
Yeah, and there's also been a player this whole time, Lollipop, who's been able to slide through arch side, might even be able to shoot Z-Power in the back as he escapes the apartment's boiler. Somehow they're just not seeing each other. This is so wild how the maneuvering has taken place thus far, and all this. That's going to catch Facer completely off guard in Library. You have to imagine. Indeed, it does. Z-Power, though, does strike with AWP inside the apartments. He does it twice, Vince, and he has bomb control. This is devastating.
It should be round winning. That should be the moment that puts Nemiga into an awkward spot one more time. Unless Lollipop can clutch a 1v2. He does have time on his side and a headshot alongside it. Now it's against Z-Power. He knows he was last seen in the apps. Hiding once again one of these close angles. Taking the aggressive peeks. That smoke's not good enough. That smoke goes too far. He wanted to smoke the site instead, and it's going to get wrecked by Z-Power's re-peek. 13-7. Huge round for forZe.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the smoke was intended to block the bomb so he could grab it and run away, or if it was to block off the stairs angle so he could know that Z-Power's op would be blocked there and he could just focus on the angle to his left. Either way, the smoke did neither one of those tasks for him. Like you said, it was just thrown too deep. It didn't do any him favors. And so that round is stolen away, essentially. Which is, I mean, one of the biggest roadblocks to making the comeback is dropping around like that, one that you feel like you should be getting for free. Or at least be getting easier. So that loss is really going to sting. But they're still not out of it yet. They still have plenty of money to get the full buy going. They could reset forZe, whose funds are quite low. They had to do a fair bit of rebuying. Remember, it was only Z-Power left standing at the end. So 4 rebuys means not much money to be found on forZe. So Nemiga, if they can win here, could still make things very interesting.
Grenades in, barely touches face crack. Not even a grimace. He's okay with that. He originally thought it was a flashbang, so he turned his back on it. But there's going to be no push behind Nemiga's early aggression. Z-Power flick into Lollipop again in the apps. The audacity to go for that pretty much same play twice in a row and get results from it is pretty huge. And it just seems like Nemiga were trying to catch up to forZe. They were trying to get back into the race, but it turned out their shoelaces were tied together, and Z-Power is going to push them over and make them face plant one more time. Could be a third. It will be a third. He is just tenacious, relentless with these peaks. He's going to go down, finally missing a shot, but I mean, if the rest of his team can't pick it up from here, there's going to be some serious words between him and them. Flit, who's been on fire this map, unlikely to miss out on this chance as he will devour the oncoming T's, and forZe steamroll to a 14-7 lead now.
Yeah, it's looking like the beginnings of the end of Inferno, based on what we're seeing here. Nemiga was making a bit of a comeback effort when they were able to win the first 4 rounds of the half. Primarily based off of winning pistol and the anti-eco, for honest. When the rifles have come out, forZe have started to get right back to winning ways, and now they're just 2 away from forcing a 3rd map, which would be Nuke.
Flash into peak. This time Z Power on the arch side of middle. Doesn't catch anybody off guard. No one pushing into second mid this time. Some respect being shown from Nemiga, who have the more mobile approach of full AK-47. So they can go for these explosive set plays on the likes of B, which is they're mainly congregating in Banana at the moment, with maybe the end goal of pushing over there. It's only Almazer as well, thus this does make me worry a little bit for forZe, but of course, there's more than enough time for a rotation to take shape. Which will now come in.
Indeed it shall. 3 CTs on the A sites. A boost being put up at B, which will free up Z Power to rotate back to A if need be. Instead, he'll position himself at Coffins, and this could actually be a bit of a fake being thrown by Nemiga at mid, and they might just fall back into B. The options are still very much open to them, and they still could go either way, but they need to make a decision now. There's only 30 seconds left on the clock. Looks like they're going to fake out B with smokes, Coffins, and CT spawn. That will keep those 2 players locked into place and maybe even force an A player to start thinking about rotating the library. Z-Power gets the kill onto Jo. Here comes the A attack.
They have successfully sold the fake, though. forZe bought it, realizing it was a fake, and now Jerry holding on with the M4, and Flit's there to help him out. You're thinking Nemiga did everything right. It was a flawless fake, but they didn't factor in that a crossfire would just neutralize them on the approach. 8 map points.
I think with Z-Power getting that op kill, though, over the smoke of Coffins, and then also not hearing anything else after he got the kill, it actually allowed the 3 A players to feel pretty comfortable just kind of holding their ground rather than someone rotating deep into CT spawn or something like that. So the fake, while it was somewhat sold, it wasn't sold well enough. It was returned immediately for a refund. And now you have map point here for forZe.
Caught, but it's not the nade that did the bulk of the damage, or at least not that one. Down to 38, he will drop smokes and flashes. They're going to turn up the pace, turn up the heat. Jerry spraying up through CT, flash twice. That's the only reason why Box is still alive. Smoking onto the Molotov, allowing his angles to stay relatively open for business, and he is ripping out with kills alongside Almazer. That's going to be the map done. We head to Nuke 1-1. Both maps been pretty straightforward. It's all to play for.
Indeed it is, Vince. It's up in the air now. forZe have done what they've needed to do to force us into a 3rd map to try to get that qualification for stage 3 and avoid having to use the lower bracket to do so. I'm Dust. With me has been Vince, but we're going to be taking a break in casting to pass you over to our expert panel to break down Inferno. So take it away, Kyle and the boys.
Indeed, it's Kyle and the boys back again, and as expected, it is forZe taking down Inferno. A little shaky at the end there, but they pull through no problem. We will have a 3rd map, and I'm joined, of course, by my analyst duo, Alex, and how do you say your name?
Ooh, give it a go.
Hosted?
Okay, that was really far off. Yeah, wow.
Halvor,
yeah.
Interesting. You've got like the weird dots above the letters and such.
Yeah, but not in my first name though. That comes for the last name. That's when it gets really spicy.
Do you ever have difficulties with people pronouncing your name properly?
Yeah, pretty much to the point where everybody just calls me Ven. That's
Ven, yeah.
Easier.
Interesting. Well,
yeah.
Enough about names. Who are the standout names for you guys? We were talking about perhaps Dexter underperforming. Did we see what we wanted? Like, did Nemiga show us that they'll put up a fight in this third map? I believe it's Nuke coming up. Because you guys make it sound like it'll be a snooze. forZe got this, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't put up as good of a fight as I would have expected on Inferno. I mean, it was a 12-3 first half. It was pretty much forwards in control from start to finish. And what we got to see on Mirage was, I guess, somewhat unexpected heroes in the sense from Nemiga, and that since we had MDS having a really good game, that wasn't very likely to continue on going further with the series, and it didn't either. But it's just kind of surprising by how flat they fell. Definitely would have expected more out of the likes of Lollipop to kind of give them more of a fighting chance, but right now we got to see pretty much everyone on forZe playing like they should. It's Flit having an absolutely fantastic game.
By the way, Dexter's not on either one of these.
No, Dexter's on Espada. Yeah.
Why did I use
We were
his
gonna let it
name?
slide, but you just brought it up.
Thank you guys for that. You just helped me out.
We're just like, letting it pass in silence.
Yeah.
But if you want to throw yourself under the bus, we'll do that. But obviously, you did this because you were paying attention to the second map that's going on at the same time, Espada versus Gambit. And
where Espada is looking strong, which for me has got to be a little scary for both of these teams. You don't want to go up and play against Gambit youngsters in an elimination series. They've looked good and bad, but streaky, and you don't want to play them if they end up hot. Watch the rest of this qualifier from home.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think while we were on our way down to the studio, I think the Espada had a 15-2 lead on the second map, actually. So it's very likely that we can, if things go according to plan, or at least as we have assumed, in this series, we might have a matchup between Nemiga and Gambit youngsters to decide who's going to get that final spot. So that should definitely be interesting. But no, while Dexter didn't necessarily, set the world on fire in our match, I think it's fair to say that both Flit and XZ Power did so for forZe. Throughout the first half, it was all about Flit. I think he ended up with, 19-2 before changing halves, and ended up at 21-5, which is still ridiculous. And XZ Power wanted kind of to show himself from his best side when we got over to the CT side, and more or less just dismantled Nemiga by himself.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Almost as impressive. Yesterday we were playing a 10-man stack, and S4, Dota player who also plays pretty well in Counter-Strike, does a lot of games with the Nip Boys, GE. He dropped 43 kills.
Wow.
Still lost.
So my question now is, how many kills did you get?
I think I was double digits.
Yeah, okay.
It was respectable.
All right, not worst performer on your team?
No, I was not.
Okay, well, who was that? Name and shame.
I don't even remember, actually.
That sounds like a cop-out.
Yeah, sounds like you're just being really nice.
I'll be honest, it could have been me.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a tough match. It was pretty funny. They were just trying to juke out S4. I don't know if they do that in Pro CS. They're like, okay, guys, Simple's playing A. We got to rush B. But
that is
they definitely employ that strategy.
That is actually something that was an occurrence back in the older Navi lineups when Seuss was still playing. If you knew Seuss was playing, let's say, B side on Mirage, you'd definitely see teams leaning more heavily towards the B side, simply because you'd have to go through Simple. And now at least you're giving a bit of a harder time because he has to rotate all over and he can't be waiting for you necessarily. So it definitely happens, not just in your 10 mans.
Yeah. I think going back to the game, though, I mean, we were playing on Inferno, right? We were playing on Inferno. I think this right here is Flit. He was very hot. Exapower's over here. He was hot as well. It was all great. And unfortunately, we got Nemiga here. They really did not show up, I'm going to be honest. They really didn't show up much. Flit, though, was just insane throughout that game. That 1v3 he won on Banana on the B side, that was beautifully played. He had a smoke up. He couldn't see the bomb. He had to nade for the first kill. He had to spray through the smoke for the second kill. Basically, everything went right for him, and that's the kind of way that Flit likes to play. He likes to be kind of that last man, kind of following up the team and trying to make sure he can close out the rounds, and he did that really effectively throughout. And then once he starts to build in confidence, he can start to get more involved and more involved and just keep on carrying that through. And once Exapower started showing up on that second half as well, that's when you know it's over. Yeah. When he's starting to get those flashy 3Ks and Flit's playing well, this forZe team are really hard to beat.
I gotta say, it's interesting the differences. You see stats come up on the screen, and as you said, Flit just absolutely unbelievable, a 4+ KD. But when you look at games, Counter-Strike and Dota are very different, of course. But I pretty much am relating everything I learned from you guys